Hey guys, welcome back. Still talking about ICP. I wanted to continue talking about them because not only did I not get to finish the first deck of Joker cards, which I want to at least do before this topic is finished for the first time, but I didn't get to get into enough of the moral implications and just extra detail that I think would be relevant to the topic and the subject of ICP. Experiences involving myself personally and just historically, as far as my life is concerned, are a whole another can of worms that I could get into eventually. But I wanted to at least get through the explanation and my interpretations of these first 6 Joker cards. So I have gone through previously Carnival of Carnage, which was number 1, Ringmaster, which was number 2, and Riddlebox, which was number 3. Now, number 4 is the Great Malenko, the 4th album, the 4th character, the 4th moral implication or motivation to be a good person, more or less, according to Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, the greatest minds of our time. The 4th card, the 4th Joker card in the deck of 6, was called the Great Malenko, and this card, this character, I should say, is somebody who practices magic. It's like the fortune teller of the carnival, the one who lures you in and talks about knowing some sort of secret and withheld information about your past, your future, your history, your being, and charges you a pretty penny to not withhold that information, to give it to you and to let you know what could be in your past or your future, and what could be awaiting you, or what could be defined by certain actions you've taken. Just some kind of mystical insight that's being held by this carnival, carnival practitioner, or person who has a job there, who's just attempting to get some cash, but who also might actually know something, because that's part of the mystery. That's part of the appeal of these characters, is that they may actually have some valid information, or even further, still useful information for an individual, which is what which is where they get their appeal from, and which is where the mystery sort of conflicts with reality, as far as what kind of information you're willing to accept as fact from these individuals, and what is worth accepting as, even if you didn't accept it as fact, what you would consider yourself to be valid in the first place, because this is just some fucker working at a carnival. You don't know if you can trust them. But this character, the Great Malenko, he is supposed to embody the perfect vision and image of one of these characters who is looking to swindle you out of your cash, because this character really does have the information about your life, but because of your lack of faith, you may be turned away from him. Because of your lack of understanding or belief in his powers, you would be not discouraged. What the fuck is the word I'm looking for? You would just have less of a motivation to trust him as somebody who had some sort of a guiding principle morally for your life. He wouldn't be someone you would turn to if you were looking to seek guidance of some kind, or have some kind of a new revelation that would give you insight. But it's interesting because and his what he is supposed to embody, and what he's supposed to represent, comes through communication of the songs themselves on the album. The tracks and the skits and whatnot. we're introduced to him as being one of these simple carnival caretaker types of individuals who is just it's just a carny, just a person who is working there, who may or may not swindle you out of cash, and may or may not actually have information that is of interest to you, which is it's interesting, it's mysterious. These characters accomplish their goals, and so does the Great Malenko. With the opening skit, he basically does this with in the opening skit to this fourth album, he's communicating with a supposed to be dumb individual, somebody who not only lacks faith but is lacking certain cognitive abilities that are obviously portrayed in the album itself through his dialogue. He's saying things like, he's talking, he's like, I'm looking for he's in an old antique shop, and he's like, I'm looking for a gift, I'm looking for a thing for the old man before he fucking dies and rots on me. I believe that's the exact line. He's like, I need a gift for the old man before he dies and rots on me. Wait a minute. Wait a fucking minute. Wait just a fucking minute. I might be misinterpreting, I might be misremembering the intro for the Great Malenko, for the intro to the Amazing Jackal Brothers. And in doing so, because of the connection between the two, because the Amazing Jackal Brothers comes right after the Great Malenko, I think I might have found a connection just now that I didn't realize was present before between the two, meaning that the Great Malenko could possibly be the carny in the Dark Carnival, in the Carnival of Carnage, who sells you the candle that is a holding of the presence of the Amazing Jackal Brothers. It's the item which thrusts you into this whole other world, this whole other interpretation of a whole other moral obligation that is represented by these two brothers, and that who share the next card, the fifth Joker card, which could all be perpetuated in the first place by the Great Malenko. I never realized that before, but that could be an actual possibility, and that's kind of fucking cool. Anyways, yeah, I'm actually certain now. The intro I was talking about, where you walk into an antique store and somebody's trying to sell you some shit, is the intro for the Amazing Jackal Brothers. That's not the Great Malenko. I forget the intro for the Great Malenko, but we know for a fact that he is just a gypsy traveling carnival kind of archetype for a character, he, like I described already. So he's got the insight to your livelihood, basically, and what this card and what this album is trying to teach you, what this character is trying to show you, is the effect of your sins. And it's no card has done this up to this point. You have Carnival of Carnage, which is your recompense, your payment. You have Ringmaster, which is a purposeful and sentient directional point at which this carnage can be pointed to ensure that you pay exactly what you owe as far as your moral debt is concerned to society. Then you have the Riddle Box, which is the fear of the mystery embodied as a character, basically, which is tallying up basically what you've done right and wrong, and giving you an ultimate result which will be surprising either way, just because it's kept a mystery until that riddle box pops, until the Jack-in-the-Box spring-locked character pops out at you to reveal to you whether or not you have ultimately been a good or bad person. And that's the embodiment of the fear you have over whether or not you have been a good or bad person, and the fear of the afterlife, the fear of some kind of recompense or punishment that you might face. And Now we've got the Great Malenko, which is this traveling carny individual, which is, I guess, the first focused facet into, some kind of separate entity in the Dark Carnival who's controlling a certain aspect specifically of your life that has to do with your sense of morality. This character is interpreting different timelines, which I find extremely interesting and cool as a sci-fi concept already, but within the context of the lore of ICP, this character is showing you what could have been through his crystal ball, through his magic. He is showing you your idealistic scenario and your idealistic situation that could have happened if you had not committed the sins that you had, if you had not made the wrong decisions, if you had not hurt the ones that you loved, or, if you hadn't committed the wrongdoings that you did. Basically, he is a showcase of regret, or he is a character that is showcasing to you all of your regret, because he's showing you the possibility of a better future, and that's a theme that's present throughout different songs throughout the album, where he's just showing you what could have been, and what could have been ideal for you and other individuals surrounding you, like family, friends, and acquaintances, whoever you happen to be associated with. This character is showing you how you fucked up, basically. Just throwing everything you have done wrong in your face, basically. And it's interesting because this character doesn't necessarily have, dominance over your fate like the Riddlebox does, or like the Ringmaster or the Carnival of Carnage has so far. These are all characters that have directives, and they have a direction that they're trying to, not a direction. They have judgment. They have ultimate judgment, and based on that judgment will determine the direction of yourself, and how an individual pays for their crimes, basically. This character, the Great Malenko, doesn't necessarily influence any kind of decision making as far as the overall outcome of your soul, or you as an individual, or what you have to pay for. He simply shows you what could have been if you would have been a better person, and is meant to make you feel guilt, and is meant to give you more of a motivation to do better things in your life, which, depending on the severity to which you take these Joker cards seriously, you could actually, gain some proper motivation from this character. But this is, this character alongside the Riddlebox is, is utilizing a rather negative, a rather severe possible negative outcome to motivate you to do better. With the Riddlebox, it's simply utilizing the fear of the unknown and the fear of not knowing whether or not you have been a good enough person. In the case of the Great Malenko, it's that you know for a fact what you could have done better now, and you have been shown what you could have done better, and you have been pretty much explicitly told how you fucked up in life, and now you get to spend the next however long regretting your decisions and mulling over every decision you've ever made, and contemplating whether or not what you should do in the future, and how you can improve, and what you can do better. And this again is just an embodiment of something that has potential to be a positive motivator through negative through negative broadcasting, negative connotations that are attempting to, use these possible bad outcomes to make you be a better person, or whatever they perceive to be a better person, which is interesting. And the Great Malenko, I believe, stands apart from the Riddlebox in the way that it's showing you what you could have done right with absolute certainty. It has a bit of an authority on the matter, which I think is interesting as far as it pertains to the mythos of these characters, as well as what it's trying to state about people in general. Because once you've been shown for a fact that you've fucked up, you are more than likely going to want to improve yourself. You're more than likely going to want to do better, which is more of a it's more of an active positive result than something like the Riddlebox, which is just giving you the result automatically and telling you, yeah, no, it's too late, you have already fucked up and you're now going to pay for it. The Great Malenko is at least showing you what you've done wrong and giving you a chance possibly for the future to be better, depending on how you take the information presented to you by the character. Which is, it's cool. It works for the mythos. Now we're on to the amazing Jocko Brothers, which I mentioned before, the 5th Joker card, the 5th album, and this one is pretty straightforward. It's basically basically each brother. There's 2 of them. There's Jake Jekyll and Jack Jekyll. Jake Jekyll is the guardian of peace. He is, there's kind of a constant running theme with these characters that has to do with fire, and how fire can be utilized in different ways. We use fire to power our vehicles. We use fire for ingenuity, technology, and advancements that have led to light, fuel, and inventions in every respect of technology, first and foremost in transportation, as far as combustion that allows vehicles to travel, and fuel utilization and ignition that causes rockets to launch into the sky, so that we could eventually become what we are now, which is an interstellar species, a species that has officially sent something not only beyond our planet, but beyond our solar system. We have begun to reach the outer limits of space because of the utilization of fire and the technologies that its discovery and manipulation has allowed us to develop. And fire as well can cause extreme suffering. You burn yourself, you touch the stove when you're a kid, you accidentally light yourself on fire with a firework because you're a dumbass and you don't know how to handle things like that. It's that is just as interesting, because these 2 characters, Jake and Jack Jekyll, are meant to represent both sides of this coin, both aspects of this mythos of the utilization of fire, meaning that it could be extremely useful and extremely good for an individual, or for society, or the complete opposite. It could be on one side of the spectrum or the other. Jake Jekyll is the representation of I believe referring to the album description of the Joker card, saying that it was, Jake Jekyll embodies the flame of a campfire where you can roast marshmallows on, the warmth when you're snuggling up with your mother, or when you're snuggling up in some very warm clothes on a cold night, the warmth of the heart that lets you know that there's still love in the world, that human connection is worth striving for because of the positive experiences that it can elicit. And counter to this, the antithesis to this, is Jack Jekyll, who is a character who represents the complete opposite. It's the suffering that flame begets. It's the burning yourself, the possible immolation of your skin if you're trapped in a car accident fire, if you can't escape the flames that you have brought upon yourself, more or less, the flames of hell, the flames that hurt you, the flames that are in a Zippo lighter giving you cancer when you smoke that cigarette through a deep inhalation. It's the flames that are set upon you with gasoline tossed on top of you when somebody's trying to destroy the evidence of a dead body, of a person that they've murdered through pure vengeance and hatred. It's two sides of the same coin, two different utilizations and explanations for fire, which is really, I shouldn't even have to say too much about that for you to understand the significance of flame, not only chemistry-wise, but metaphorically, symbolically, as far as culture is concerned. Even dating back to the Sumerians and early Neanderthalian cultures. Once fire was discovered, it was often used as sort of a transformative tool to worship gods and to make sacrifices to those gods by doing what these cultures thought was literally transporting physical materials to another realm when they would burn them, sacrificing pig and animals and humans and whatever else they would burn into ash, but thinking that the smoke and the chemical change that was happening in these physical materials to be something spiritual and something magic, because they didn't have an explanation for it at the time. They thought that they were literally using flame as a teleportation device to the gods. They were sending materials to them by burning them, which is fucking crazy, but also very cool and, very metaphorically relevant to the situation I'm describing right now with this 5th Joker card. And these brothers, they are called the Amazing Jekyll Brothers because their act for the Dark Carnival is supposed to be juggling balls. And, seems simple enough upon first hearing it. They juggle. Two whoop. It's cool. Why wouldn't you have a couple of juggling clowns in your act in a carnival? They're two beings that just happen to find pleasure in this profession, maybe. But what makes this significant is that in the lore for the characters, these two guys juggle balls, with each ball representing a good or bad deed, a positive or negative action that you have committed or undertaken throughout your life. No, it's not even positive actions, it's just negative actions, now that I'm thinking about it. They both juggle to each other, they're not separate acts. These brothers are juggling and passing balls back and forth in a big circle, I would assume, because the artwork depicts them juggling balls in a circle, so they're passing balls back and forth to each other. And the way that it works is that for each sin you have committed, another ball is added to the juggling act. So depending on their skill, they're going to be able to complete this act successfully or not. And depending on how many sins you've committed, that will increase the chance of them non-successfully completing this act that they have to in order for you to go to Shangri-La, or the ICP equivalent of heaven. And I always thought that that was a pretty cool concept, because it's left up to sort of a random chance game kind of thing, which is a little bit sneaky and a little bit, you know, conniving, which ties into the clownish, chaotic culture of this dark carnival, but it also, you know, gives relevance and validity to the claim that, yeah, if you haven't committed that many sins, then the juggling act for these characters, for these people, should be easy, so you shouldn't have anything to worry about. And I think I like this card the most. It's my favorite, just based on you know, based on every aspect of it, the random chance, the you know, the karma aspect of it, which is, you know, honestly a theme of all of the Joker cards and the entirety of the Dark Carnival, which is cool, and yeah, that's why I like ICP. And the last, on to the last Joker card, which is the Wraith, which doesn't require any explanation at all, really. This character is simply an embodiment of the Grim Reaper, which either takes you ultimately to Shangri-La or Hell's Pit, depending on your actions. That does it for this first round of ICP explanations. I might go back to them again in the future. Tune in next time, guys. See ya.